Okay, let's get back to working on the MedMine workflow items, the states and reasons Visio file. So going to our team site, I'm going to open up the Excel file that has information in it, and I'm going to open up the Visio that we're going to be populating, and I've done that. So here in the Excel file on the work item types worksheet, we're going to do a screen capture, get the list of work item types that the MedMine team project has in it. And then we'll go into Visio on the work item types page, and we'll paste that in. And we'll use that as a list of items that pages we're going to create for those different work items. So let's go down here and rename this, right-clicking on the page, rename work items types, MedMine team project. And notice that the shape that has some code behind it updates automatically for us. A lot of this magic, if you will, is handled by the support tools Visio add-in, which we'll cover in a lot more depth, but just know that many of the things I'm showing you depend on you having the support tools installed. I'm running version from May 27th, so I want to be sure that you have a relatively recent version, although that feature has been there for quite a while. So let's go delete some of the things on this page and build a page using these shapes that know how to create pages using this list. So let's go get rid of some of these things on this page. I'm just going to delete this. Oh, what's going on here? I can't seem to get to that. Well, this is a good opportunity to learn a little bit about Visio layers. So if you click on the Home tab on the ribbon, and you come over here over to Layers, click on the drop down, click on Layer Properties, a dialog box opens showing you the layers that exist on this page. So one thing we really haven't talked about is a page has, of course, shapes on it, but a page can also have layers. So this page has a background layer and a navigation layer, and the names really aren't that important right now. Each layer has some attributes, whether it's visible, whether it appears on a printout, whether it's locked, and a few other things. So background is currently locked. Let's unlock that. Click OK. And now if we come over here, we can select this shape. So if we go back to layers and say assign to layer, so now that we can select the shape, the assign to layer option's available. And if we click on assign to layer, it shows us the list of layers that currently exist, and notice that background is checked, which means this shape is assigned to the background layer. You can assign a shape to more than one or none. You can create new layers, and so that shape that we currently have selected is now on both the background layer and the new layer. So I'm going to remove it from background momentarily. Click OK, then I'm going to come back to layer properties, and I'm going to make the new layer not visible on the page, although it will appear in the printout. So I'm going to click OK. And you notice that that shape disappears. These lines are additional shapes, so don't be misled by that. Now if I go to File, Print, You notice that that shape exists on the printout, and that's because, as I mentioned, a layer has properties, and the new layer that we created is not visible, which means on the page we're looking at, but it is going to appear on a printout. So that's something that sometimes can be advantageous. And as an example of that, these navigation shapes that I tend to put on the perimeter of the diagram, I put on the navigation layer, and you can see that they're visible, but they don't print. So that's a little bit about layers. I think from time to time we'll touch on it, but I just wanted to introduce you to that. So we're going to come back to layers. We're going to remove the new layer. Don't need that. It'll also delete all shapes belonging to it. Well, we want to get rid of that shape anyway, so we'll remove that. We'll leave the navigation on, backgrounds on, and close that out. We will get rid of those lines. And just so you can see the creation process, even though some of these page shapes have the same names of ones we want to use, let's just go ahead and delete those. And we'll move bug up here. I just clicked left mouse, held it down, and then moved it. So let's go create a shape for each one of these work item types that we know exist in the MedMind template. And once again, if we click on the shape, which we got from the page shape stencil, you'll notice over on the right side of the screen, although you can drag this around, you can detach the shape data thing. I tend to just leave it docked over there on the right side, but you can put it wherever you want. If you have multiple monitors, I'm not sure if you can drag it off. Visio is a bit unfortunate in that it only really supports using a single monitor for stuff. That can sometimes be a limitation. Anyway, back to the bug shape. It's got a page name, a hyperlink, talked a little bit about the return link stuff. So we'll go into a little bit more details about those as we create these. So what I'm going to do is you can do this actually several ways. You can Control-C, copy, Control-V, paste, and we get a dialog box that pops up asking us to give this a name. So we'll call this code review request, and we'll delete the hyperlink because that automatically gets created for us. We'll click OK. So instead of Control-C, copy, Control-V, paste, you can also do Control-D, which is duplicate, code review response, feature. So I'm going to go ahead and create one shape for each of the different work item types, and at the end I'm going to pause the video, and then what we'll see is all these have been created. Okay, so now we have all the shapes that will be links to the different work item types selected. So I've selected a group of them. Looks like I actually, there we go, I've selected some. And one thing that Visio does pretty well is provide you some tools that let you line things up. So I'm going to click on the Align ribbon on the home screen, home ribbon, the Align button. We're going to align left. And another thing that's nice is if you pull a shape down, position it in a different thing, you can go to the position, you can have it automatically distribute things vertically. So we'll go grab these, same thing, align left. And I have no idea if this is the same number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I sometimes do things in 10 so it's easy to count. So we'll go grab 8 more. 1, 2, 3. Does that look like about 8? It looks like it might be 9. Then we can drag this down. Notice the green lines that indicate the center of the shape above and the top, center, and bottom of the shape to the left. Notice when I move it away, and then also notice the 2 arrows indicating that the spacing that's been set. So I'm going to come down till I see the alignment green lines show that it's lined up on the shape to the left and on the shape above. I'm going to release the mouse, and then I'm going to go highlight them, position, distribute vertically. I'm sure they're still lined up, but you can align the left, you can align the center. Move this out of the way, and then notice as I drag, hold down the left button, drag. Come on. You see the horizontal green arrows indicating that the spacing between the bug and the release is the same as the release and the WBS. Let go. And this is where you just have to get used to what Visio does. So I'm going to highlight these. The question is, when I do a line and I say align left, it's going to pull everything over to the left. If I do align right, it takes the top shape that we selected, the first one, and uses it. So if you drag from the bottom, align left, same thing. So it tends to force you to think about how you want to do things. So I'm just going to pull this down into position 3, get the spacing equal. And then just go drag those, align right. Well, that was annoying. So here's another thing you can do. You can just do it manually. Okay, so now we have a shape for each one of the work item types, and let's go create the pages for those. And remember, what you do is you right click on the shape and click on create page for shape. We've already done that for the bug, so we're going to right click here on code review, create code review request page. So it created the page, it used the background page base because we're starting with a page that had that. It created a shape that's a return link point. So if I hold down the control key and click back, so just by right clicking create page, we can go ahead and create each of the pages we need. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video and go create the rest of the pages. Okay, I've almost got them all done. We're going to create work issue task. And I want you to notice that for each page that gets created, go back to the one we just created, it pulled in the navigation links that existed at the time of the page creation on the navigation links page. And I know we don't have a UI layout options page, so I'm going to delete that from the navigation links page. And I'm going to go back to the work item types page, which we didn't seem to get to. So what's going on there? So let's go to the navigation links page, click on the work item types, and look over here. Okay, page name, work item types. That's what appears in the shape. hyperlink, work item types, STS Agile. I think that's not what we called it. If we click on the all page, work item types, MedMine team project. Okay, so if we click on this and go update the hyperlink, MedMine team project. And now if we hold down the Control T and click, we still don't go to the right place. And this can be a little bit tricky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat and just double click on that shape, Control C it onto the clipboard, hold down the Control key, navigate to navigation links, paste this in. And now let's see. There we go. So sometimes the smallest differences make a difference all the time. Sometimes they'll drive you crazy. And so if you're having trouble getting the exactly correct text into a shape for a hyperlink, what's sometimes helpful is just go to the page and grab it off the page tab or the shape that automatically updates. Now, another thing I wanted to show you, you may have missed this. I'm going to Control C, Control V, copy this, and I'm going to intentionally put an extra letter there that we know doesn't exist, team projects. I'm going to try to navigate. And what it does is it tries to get, it goes somewhere. And I'm not sure I fully understand where it goes, but it makes an attempt to resolve the link. And clearly we didn't go to where we expected. So when that happens, that's usually an indication that the text in the hyperlink data element is not going to where you want. So we will click on the shape, take that S off the back, and now that link works correctly. So that's one thing to know. The other thing is anything that's on the navigation links page, regardless of where it's located, will get copied over when a new page is created if you use the support tools mechanism. So if we go back to work item types, and so I'm going to show you two things now. First, that the navigation links get copied, and also what happens if you've already created the page. So note down here, we've already got a page, work issue task. So if I right click on this shape and say create page, it creates a new page, but because that page already existed, it doesn't throw an error. Arguably it should. It creates the page, but because it already existed, it couldn't rename it. And then because it couldn't do that, it didn't run any of the other code. So if you end up with a page that doesn't seem to have the correct name, it might be an indication that the page already exists. Yes, the tool should probably be a little bit nicer about that. So let's go back and delete work issue task. So now we know the page doesn't exist. Let's right click, go ahead and create it. So we get a new page, we get our return link, which you can move around or delete. You might not even need it. And we also get anything else in the way of links that were on the navigation links page. And remember, the navigation links page had the work item types, these 4 in the corner, and this one that we left there. So anything you put on the navigation page is going to get copied over. And the things you put on the navigation links page, are navigation links you want to appear on all the pages. So we're going to go ahead and delete that. And now we've got a Visio drawing with a bunch of pages in it. And if we go to the support tools, create table of contents, we get shapes for every page in the drawing, and these are pretty simple. All they have in it is the name of the page and a hyperlink that will take you back to the page. You can use this undo go to page to return to the page you were previously on. what else was I going to say? The convenient thing about the table of contents is it gives you a quick way to navigate through all your pages without having to worry about navigation links. I tend to use the navigation links where on each page there's places where I always want to be able to go, and when you get a Visio diagram with a whole lot of pages in it, you may want to have a few pages marked out for navigation. If you just want a quick way of seeing the table of contents, this is the purpose of that table of contents thing. Out of the box, Visio gives you this mechanism, which is also fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And you can reorder pages here. And you can explore that on your own. It's click on this, and then you right click on a page and you can say reorder pages. And then you get this list, and so you can highlight a single page and you can move it up and down. And sometimes you'll want to do that. But what I find I wanted to do on a pretty regular basis is I wanted to sort the pages alphabetically. So of course there's a button for that, sort all pages. And I just want to take you back to the work item types page. So the reason, this is interesting. So the reason this link is not working, we're going to click on it and notice it still says STS Agile because we did not correct the link before we created some of these early pages. Well, not we, I didn't. So if we go back here, one of the last pages we created was work issue task. And if we click on that, sure enough, that one says MedMind Team Project. So if we click there, we go to where we want. So the problem is some of these pages, the links don't work. So there's a couple buttons to correct that. So I'm just going to go back to here. We can go to code view request. So we know that link says STS Agile. So up here on the support tools ribbon, there's things that involve the document. There's things that involve the page, things that involve layers. We talked a little bit about layers today, and things that involve shapes. So in this case, this nav links update, this will add navigation links to the page, or if they exist, it'll simply update them. So I'm going to click this. Doesn't seem to have changed anything, but if I highlight that shape now, it says MedMind Team Project. So let's go to another one. Sure enough, that's wrong. So we can do them one at a time, or you can click on Update Nav Links in the document, and it will update all the navigation links on all the pages. Takes a little bit of time, of course, because there may be a lot. And so now all the pages have been corrected. And you'll also notice that this return link to work item types doesn't go to the correct place because that's the name of the page at the time the shape got created. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete those. And you can just kind of, walk through a page at a time. I'm not going to show you that on the video because that's really the purpose of this work item links navigation link, because I felt from any page it would be handy to get back to work item types and recall that the shape says work item types, but it's actually going to the work item types MedMind Team Project. So we'll navigate there, and we'll end with one final thing. I mentioned that it's kind of nice sometimes to sort pages alphabetically. Recall that I right-clicked on each of these and created the page. And so the way Create Page works is it creates the page and it inserts it right after the page you're on. So these are basically created out of order. You certainly can, work backwards if you want. Or you can click on Sort Pages. So look down at the bottom of the screen and you can see it says Work Item Types, then Work Issue, then Work Issue Task, then Work Issue, etc. I'm going to click on Sort All Pages. And now the pages are sorted alphabetically. And this first page, well, Maybe we want this at the very beginning. So we'll right click, reorder, and in this case, you can just drag it up. Well, maybe you can't drag it up. That's why I don't like this. You can click a gazillion times. So sort all pages sometimes is your friend, and sometimes, it alphabetically sorts all the pages. It's smart enough to always leave table of contents at the beginning. It treats that specially. And I think I already mentioned that the background pages don't move. So it only sorts the foreground pages with the exception of table of contents. And then if you want any different order, you can just do that manually. So I tend to use the navigation links for quick ways of navigating around a file. The table of contents to just kind of see all the pages I've created and maybe quickly go there as an alternative to this, which works fine for just picking a single place. And the next thing we'll do is we'll start creating the states and reasons for each of the different work items. But now we have link points for all the different pages, and we can delete, well, we'll just leave this kind of as reference. And when we pick up in the next session, we will cover creating the state model for each of these. One more little detail over here on page shapes, each of these shapes at the top, page link, cloud, oval, rounded link, they all behave the same. The only thing that's different is the shape. So it asks you what's the name of the page. You right click to create a page. And as I think I mentioned, in the return link, it says, what kind of return link do you want? So for this cloud one, I'm just going to change it to we're going to use the page shapes, and we're going to use page link cloud. And so we're going to right click, create a page. So we didn't change the text, so page name. And you'll notice that it's used a cloud shape to give us that automatic return point, because sometimes you just want to return from the page you're on. You don't want to use one of these navigation links around the perimeter of the page. And you can put them anywhere you want. You can put it in the middle of the page, the perimeter page, whatever you want. And as I mentioned, these start off on a layer called navigation, which by default is visible but doesn't print out. And it's not locked, so you can put new stuff on it. All right, I think that's a wrap.